This is a site visitor training for NASPAA accreditation standards. We're talking in this module about Standard 1, the standard that is about managing a program strategically. By way of background, one way of understanding the overall structure of all of the standards is to think about the US GAO, Government Accountability Office, Yellow Book. That is the procedures by which the USGAO audits organizations for their performance, their effectiveness, and efficiency. And the GAO builds their audits, simply put, or maybe even oversimplified, around 5 elements. They basically go into any organization and they ask, does the program have a strategy? Does it have a structure to execute on that strategy? Does it have the people it needs with the knowledge, skills, and aptitudes to fill the positions in the structure? Does it have policies and procedures? Or in the case of NASPAA, that would be like curriculum and other kinds of things to do what its strategy says it's trying to do. And fifth, does it have a way of assessing whether it's performing on its strategy? So the GAO model has 5 elements, and while NASPAA has more than 5 standards, they're just really an elaboration of those basic 5 elements, asking those 5 questions. So that means Standard 1 is a particularly important one for site visitors to understand and think about how programs are coming up with, identifying, and articulating their strategy. The whole idea here is that a program ought to have a mission. It should have something that's guiding what it's trying to do. It can't necessarily be all things to all people. And programs should be identifying what their mission is that's going to guide their performance, and against which it sort of sets everyone's expectations for all of their stakeholders, and it provides sort of a standard against which they can assess their progress. And the mission can be changed, of course, and over time, but it should be something that everyone who's involved with the program can say, yeah, this is what we're about. This is our 1-minute, 2-minute elevator speech. This is why we exist and what we're trying to accomplish. So it has various elements. Certainly, one of the most important that you look for are the purpose of the program and the public service values, what the faculty and institution of which it's a part puts great emphasis on. So you're looking for a program that sort of understands itself and knows what it's about, what its emphasis is. Is it public affairs administration? Is it a public policy program? Who is it serving? Is it serving primarily city and county government, state government, regional government? Is its emphasis national in terms of where it draws its students from and where it will place its alumni? Is it international? So how does it see itself? And that would also potentially include who it sees as its competitors in the particular population that it's trying to serve. And again, the population is students and employers, because it's a professional program. The strategy would also continue to include a notion of, since traditionally in university setting, programs have a teaching, research, and service component, well, in the ways that it serves its community other than just by teaching, and in the kinds of research that the program is undertaking, its faculty are undertaking, is that consistent with its mission? Doesn't mean there can't be some variation from that, but there should be a sense among everyone on the faculty and among the students and among administrators within and outside the program that they understand what this program is about. It's a local program, it's a regional program, it's trying to serve the state. And if that's what they were to say, a program was to say its mission is, and then it's introducing, for example, a large number of international students into its student body, or its faculty are doing a lot of work in international public administration, That's not necessarily a bad thing, but the burden is on the program to explain how that's consistent with a mission that might be articulated as a local or regional strategy in terms of why it exists and who it serves. So those are elements of a mission and a strategy. Now, the standard 1.2, in there you're looking for the program, and evidence that the program is not just sort of talking in very broad generalities and platitudes, but that as part of what it says its strategy is, it's going to think about how it will know that it's achieving that strategy, what's observable in terms of its program goals and its objectives and the outcomes. Certainly a big part of those outcomes are what their expectations are for what students are learning, what their students will be able to do. And those things should be consistent with the program's mission and with their public service values. Not all programs are going to have the same public service values as their primary objectives. There'll be variation from program to program. But whatever they are, they should be articulated. And if a program says that our public service values are transparency, accountability, constitutionalism, that's what they teach their students, there should be ways of assessing whether their students are coming out of the program with an understanding and ability to apply those kinds of concepts. So you're looking for some evidence that the program is attending to how it's going to know that it's accomplishing its strategy. That, of course, gets directly to standard 1.3. If it's actually got some observable measures, well, what kind of information is it collecting, and how is it using the information that it collects? Who sees the information that it collects about its performance? How is it? You're looking for evidence that it is systematically and periodically collecting information about what it's doing and how consistent that is with its strategy. And if there's a misalignment, what steps is it taking to rectify that? Now, one of the things that's important is that you're not expecting to see in a self-study report, for example, that the program goes into excruciating detail about every improvement that it's made and the data it used to make that improvement. What you're looking for in standard 1 is an articulation of process, that it has a process in place for defining its strategy, developing its objectives and measures, and for using the information. So if it's doing some sort of annual exit surveys with its students, surveys of its employers, whatever it is, you're just looking for a description of the process, and that the data collection that is collected is being distributed to appropriate committees, perhaps faculty committees who act on it, that it's reviewed annually at retreats, discussed in faculty meetings, whatever the process is. What you're looking for in the self-study report, and when you're on site and trying to see, how the system works, you're looking for evidence in terms of compliance with the standard that processes exist. You actually, when you're thinking about standards 2 through 7, that's where you're expecting the program to go into the detail about what actually happened, particular changes that you might want to see evidence or talk about with respect to changes curriculum, what motivated particular changes in curriculum, which is a later standard, what motivated the decision to hire certain types of people with certain types of skills consistent with the program's strategy and mission and public service values. So the particulars of the data that's collected and the use of it comes up with respect to later standards. The standard 1 is all about trying to assess, are they managed well in the sense of having this process in place. So what does that mean? What does COPA want to know about the mission process? Well, it's pretty important to know who's involved. Ideally, you'd like to know that it's not just a program chair who's sort of holed up in a room somewhere and wrote out the mission and wrote up a process and so on. You're really looking for evidence that there's a community here around this program, and that all of the stakeholders understand the process as well as the execution of this process. So you certainly would expect administrators and faculty to be involved. Students could be involved, the student representatives, alumni, employers of the programs if they're interns, or people who hire the program's graduates. You're looking to who has input into what the strategy is, what's the process for collecting their input, for considering their input, and so on. So who's involved and how are they involved? Then you're looking for evidence that the outcomes are matched to the mission. That's important. You want to be able to assess how often the mission is reviewed. Some programs might do it annually, like at a faculty retreat. Some might do it really every time they are up for NASPAA reaccreditation. There's no hard and fixed standard for how often it should be reviewed. You might judge that doing it once every 6 or 7 years is a rather long time, but it's it's something that the site visit team would talk about. But the main thing is you're looking for a regular, consistent process for reviewing the mission, collecting information from different stakeholders, and updating the mission as a program's environment changes. You're looking for how changes that occur in the program are informed by the mission. You're looking for a sort of mission-driven, strategy-driven program that the faculty, administrators, and others are mindful of a mission and take it into account when they make decisions about what changes to make based on data they're collecting and needs that they want to serve. All programs have lots of opportunities, in some cases way too many opportunities to pursue, and the trick is, how does the program decide which opportunities to pursue, what resources to apply? All programs are resource constrained. How does it make those decisions? What processes does it have in place? And it should be linked to their mission and to their public service values. So that really gets to the overarching issue of basically how does the program's mission guide its decision making? And you'd like to hear a fairly consistent story about that from as many stakeholders as you talk to when you're at the site visit. Not just the program chair or program director, but also from faculty, potentially from employers, potentially from others. You're looking for how all of that happens. So again, I can refer back to the USGAO model of performance assessment, program performance assessment for efficiency and effectiveness. Standard 1 sets the stage for the entire accreditation process. If the program doesn't have a strategy with observable performance measures, there's really nothing else it's hard to do any other kind of performance assessment on the program. So it's important, Standard 1, to know that there's a process in place for systematically creating, reviewing, updating the mission and the strategy, and then the performance of the different elements of the program consistent with that.